Welcome to Rice TVX. You've just tuned in for the latest transmission of Rice Against the Grain. I'm your host, Rice, and I've got a question for you. Are you interested in learning how to win in court without a lawyer? Well, today I am joined by Dr. Frederick Graves. He is the founder of the Jurisdictionary Tactics Course, which offers legal self-help education. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on today's show, ready to go against the grain, is Dr. Frederick Graves. He is the founder of Jurisdictionary Course, How to Win in Court. I will have links down below for everything that we talk about on today's show. He has been on before. I will include a link for that as well. It's been since September of 2022, so we're looking at a good 2.5 years since I've had Dr. Graves on, so I felt like it was time. It was long overdue. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Frederick Graves. How are you doing today, sir?
Absolutely fabulous, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you again. I really appreciate you coming on today. I look forward to educating some people about law, how to operate in court without an attorney, without a lawyer. Again, we did have that first conversation. A lot of people don't tend to go through older videos. And for people that don't want to watch that first conversation that we did together, do you mind giving a little reintroduction of yourself?
Well, I was a sailor. I lived on boats for almost 10 years of my life. I didn't have a television set, so I read. And this is long before I went to law school. I read books. I read Franklin and Woolman and Penn. I had a set of Harvard classics. I got through most of it. And other books. I got led to a bunch of books that had to do with the founding of this nation and the architecture that those people believed in, what I call the geometry of good government. And it inspired me. And I really wanted to teach more people about what I was learning long before I went to law school. And so I had a chance to go to law school, and I went to law school. And that was 40 years ago that I graduated from law school and became an attorney. And I realized pretty quickly that the people that go to court have no idea what's going on. In fact, a lot of lawyers that go to court, they have no idea what's going on either, believe it or not. I mean, take my word for it. I've been there. And I won case after case after case because of lawyers that had no idea what the rules were or how to use the rules tactically. And so 30 years ago, almost, well, it was 1997, I started the website, and How to Win in Court. And it was called Jurisdictionary back then. Then we got the domain howtowinincourt.com. And since that time, we've been teaching people how simple the rules really are, how simple the tactics really are, and helping thousands and thousands and thousands of people to learn how to defend themselves, how to go after people that hurt them and hurt their family. And it's been a lot of fun, very satisfying to be able to do this, Chris. And I appreciate every opportunity that we have to empower people with this knowledge that an 8th grader can learn very quickly in just almost a weekend. It's all you need to pick up on what the basics are. The most of it is you can learn in a weekend.
Well, I definitely look forward to other people learning about this course and getting some feedback from some people. And also for people that are watching this that might have already taken the course, definitely let me know in the comment section what your experiences are with the course, how it's worked out for you. I definitely like to get some feedback since we have promoted it before. I know I asked you this on the first interview, and it's been so long that you probably don't even remember, but a lot of people that watch my channel look into stuff in regards to law versus legal, the legal fiction, the straw man stuff, without having a long discussion about that. I know a lot of people talk about bar and British accreditation registry or something to that effect, and pleading when you pass the bar exam and you become a member of the bar, you are in fact pleading loyalty to the British crown, not necessarily the Queen of England, but the city of London, maybe per se. I know that you don't like that. do you mind sharing what, from your perspective, what bar is, and where do people get this mixed up with the British accreditation? I don't even know if I'm saying the correct acronym because I don't even think it exists.
Well, the bar is a private association. It's beyond the control of the American people, the American Bar Association. Various states have state associations, state bar associations, and to some extent they're controlled by the state Supreme Courts. But for the most part, it's just a private organization of lawyers who are out to try to help lawyers. I never took an oath to anybody. I took an oath to Almighty God. And of course, I took an oath to my wife when we got married. I promised that I would do my best to do my duty, but no. The thing that I want people to understand is that there are rules, and the rules are fair, and the rules are good, and the rules are honest, and the rules will help the little guy. They'll help the good guy to win. And all of this business about, the British Accreditation Regency or the UCC or all these different things that are going around today kind of tend to get in the way. It's like a smokescreen, preventing people from understanding that the core of all of this that we call justice and justice administration, at the core of all of it is a set of simple rules. As I've said many times, the rules of Major League Baseball, some time ago, I looked this up, required 125 pages to publish all the rules. But the rules of evidence in every federal case, civil or criminal, can be printed on 19 pages. And really much of those 19 pages is taken up by comments. The rules themselves of evidence can be probably printed on less than 10 pages. And yet the people don't have a clue. And most lawyers that I've met, they don't have a clue either. So it's been a lot of fun empowering people to understand that instead of worrying about maybe the bar's British Accreditation Regency or all of this other stuff that's going on out there, this idea that there's some kind of criminal enterprise, and maybe there is, but whether there is or not, the answer to all of it is learn the rules, learn the tactics, how to use the rules. Just like if you'd sit down to play a game of poker, if you don't know if a flush beats a full house, it's probably not a good idea to put your money on the table. But if it's that easy to learn, then we want to encourage people to learn it, and let's put an end to the corruption. If the bar is corrupt, if lawyers are corrupt, if there are corrupt judges, then you have these rules. They're not going away. And when you know how to enforce those rules, you're going to make America a better place. Let's make America wise again.
I like that one. No, it makes complete sense. And thank you for explaining it that way. And I know we don't have to get into a big discussion about this, gentleman, but it was Alphonse Fagiolo that ultimately introduced me to your course years ago. And I know that he has taken your course and he agrees and says a lot of very similar things as to what you say. It's important to understand how to navigate the waters if you're going to get in court. You need to understand the rules of the game before you play it. And my philosophy is, one, it was said best in the G.I. Joe commercial or cartoon at the very end, which was after they gave their little lesson, knowing is half the battle. That's part of it. And then the other part of it is I look at all of these different things, even things that you've mentioned, as being tools in a toolbox. And you use tools appropriately. Like, for example, you don't use a screwdriver to nail in a nail into something. You would probably use a more appropriate tool, which might be a hammer. So you can have all different types of tools, and being able to understand how to operate in court is really important, because a lot of people obviously are spending a lot of money hiring attorneys and such. So ultimately, I got How to Win in Court Without a Lawyer, the official Jurisdictionary Tactics Course website, pulled up. I do encourage people that are interested in taking the course to use my referral code. There is a link down below in the video description and the pinned comment for the first conversation that me and Dr. Graves had, as well as the referral link for this course. If you want to support the channel, it'd be greatly appreciated if you use the link in the video description and or the pinned comment. Can you explain, Dr. Graves, what exactly the jurisdictionary course is and why you ultimately created it?
Okay. I had already been practicing and serving clients and winning cases probably 10 years when I discovered how simple it really is. You mentioned the tools. I agree with you. I mean, I tried to use a screwdriver for a chisel one time, and my dad taught me the error of my ways with applying his belt to my backside. Now, you don't use a screwdriver as a chisel or a chisel as a screwdriver. But for example, if you're trying to get evidence into the record in a civil case, and it's a little bit different in criminal cases, but it's basically very, very similar. But in a civil case, you have 5 tools. You don't have 123 that you have to learn. There are only 5. And they're requests for admissions, requests for production, interrogatories, depositions, and court orders. They're easy to use. And when you're up against an opponent, which I have been many, many times, is trying to hide the ball. They don't want to let you know what they have. They don't want you to see the documents. They don't want to answer questions. You have these 5 tools that you can force them to produce evidence, answer questions under oath, provide documents, an old broken ladder or whatever you need, a blown out tire, whatever it takes to prove your case. And you have 5 tools. They're not hard to learn. They're not rocket science, but they're just like you say, they're tools. And as I saw this more and more clearly, I kept saying, well, gee, I can do this. I can teach this to people. And as it turned out, I had a friend who recently passed away. His name was Frederick Graves. God bless him. And Fred said, well, we got to get you a website. That was 1997. And I started then, and it's just been a lot of fun. It's been very satisfying because a lot of people got their children back. They didn't go to prison. They got their home back. They stopped a foreclosure. They were able to force the prosecutor to show that he didn't really have a case, or there was an alternative theory of the case, and they got to come home. And I kind of have the idea that the people have a right to know about those tools, especially when there aren't that many tools to learn about it. It's not like there's 1,000 tools in the toolbox. There are probably fewer than 20 tools to learn, and now you know how to win.
Yeah, and we're definitely not taught these things in public education by no means. And you would think that some of this would be taught because they say ignorant. There is no such thing as ignorance of the law. You're supposed to know the law basically. And with all the codes and statutes, that's almost impossible. And most attorneys don't know them all. It's even more complex on the IRS side. With that being said, though, who did you? Now, I want to get into some of your frustrations here in a few, but who did you ultimately design this course for? What kind of individuals?
Well, as I said earlier, I ran fishing boats. I ran a ferry boat across the Chesapeake Bay. I ran a fishing boat out of Savannah. I ran a fishing boat out of Key West. I actually did scrape barnacles for a while to make enough money to buy food. I know what it is to be without. And I care about people that can't afford a lawyer. 4 out of 5, actually it's 82%. So it's more than 4 out of 5 Americans can't afford a lawyer. I think those people have a right to know what's going on instead of just having to mortgage the home or rob a liquor store to pay a lawyer and then find out the lawyer's afraid of the judge and won't do what needs to be done, or he doesn't know how to do what needs to be done. And they end up being victims. It's not right. Just because you're poor, you can't, you shouldn't be a victim of the legal system. And yet tens of thousands and thousands and thousands of people are victims of the legal system simply because they don't have a clue that there are only maybe 20 tools they have to learn, like we talked about, the tools in the toolbox. And 5 of them are how to get evidence into the record. It just seems to me that it was something that needed to be done. I thank God that I get to do it. Apparently nobody else has come up with this simple way of explaining it to folks. And I get a lot of pleasure out of it, Chris. It's very, very rewarding for me to be able to know that people, I mean, like one fellow called me on the phone. He said he was a truck driver. I said, that's wonderful. I, I did all kinds of things to make a living. I know what it is to not have a lot of money, but he told me over the phone, he said, I don't know how to thank you. He said, I haven't been able to see my children in 6 years, and now I have sole custody. And it's all because of your course. And the course makes it easy for people to know how to do what has been hidden from them by the bar forever. It's not right, Chris. So I don't know, we're just trying to fill a gap.
One thing I want to add is if I'm sure that if somebody is in some sort of legal troubles, a course like this might sound very enticing. And I'm not saying it's not going to be helpful for you, but I don't want people to get involved with this course specifically because they got in trouble about something and are trying to find a way out of that trouble. I mean, it is possible you might learn the information that you need. And like Dr. Graves said, it's not an incredibly long course. The other thing is, once you get the course, once you purchase it, it is available. This is so you can see on my end. Once you sign in, it's going to let you know basically this is good for me until the 1st of December of 2027 for me to renew. So I can watch this course up until basically January 1st of 2028. It says right here it's good until January 1st. So the course is available for quite some time. You can watch it over and over again. And the best part about it is, one, you can educate your friends and family, especially, those that might need some education. And two, there is the referral aspect, because I did mention that I have a referral number to use my referral link so that you could support the channel. You in turn can do the same thing if you're interested in turning on friends and family. If you're a content creator, if you want to interview Dr. Graves, I know his number is down, email and all that is at the very bottom of the website. He's very easy to get a hold of, and he's very flexible and very accommodating, which I appreciate. So I just want to let people know that the course would be available for several years for you once you purchase it, and you do have the option of renewing it at a lesser rate. And everything that would be available in the course, if you go to the regular website, howtowinincourt.com, or even just click on referral link, you'll see everything that's included in the course here, such as 5-hour video seminar, a 2.5-hour audio classroom, the evidence rules made easy, objections that stick, how to stay out of jail. As you can see, there's more down here. So I definitely encourage you to check this out and review this in a little bit more detail. Always do your own research and check out that first interview. Is there anything that you would add about people who are in legal troubles and the course?
Well, yeah, I'd like to make sure that people understand the distinction between the word law and the word rules. As you say, nobody knows all the laws. The Supreme Court justices, they don't know all the laws. They have to go look it up. But the rules are something everybody can learn. I mean, an 8th grader can learn it. And because there aren't that many, there really aren't. Like we said, maybe 20 tools. There's pleadings and motions, and memoranda and stipulations. That all of it's extremely easy to learn. But if you get away from the idea that you have to know everything, you don't. Let's take a case involving a dog bite. So your child wanders into your neighbor's yard and the neighbor's dog bites the child, and you have a dog bite case. Well, if you go to look up the dog bite case in Missouri or Ohio or wherever it is, you'll find out that it's really extremely simple. The law on dog bites is, a lot of it has to do, was the dog vicious? Had the dog bitten somebody else? Was the child in the neighbor's yard, or did the dog come into your yard? All these things are part of the law and decide the outcome. But then we come to the rules. So when you understand what the pleadings are, and you understand how to make a motion, and you understand the rules of evidence, which are extremely easy to learn the way we have spelled it out for you. It's 2 R's, 2 C's, and 2 P's. That's pretty much it. And how to make objections so that the judge understands that if he wants to do the wrong thing, that you're going to win on appeal. There's even a class on how to do appeals in the course. So all of this stuff is available for the people who don't have to know all the law. You just need to know the law that applies to your particular case, which is usually no more than 2 or 3 sentences somewhere in the official books. Then once you know the rules of the game, it is a game, litigation is a game. And once you know the rules of the game and what the object is of the game and the tactics, it's just like anything else. I mean, even in football, you have rules and then you have tactics. And good quarterbacks know the tactics, and good coaches know the tactics, and they know the rules. And when you have pass interference and or the guy grabs somebody's face mask and he gets a penalty, he broke the rules and there's a penalty and people lose games. NFL teams lose because one of their players is stupid enough to grab somebody's face mask. It's not difficult. I just want everybody to understand America is a wonderful place to live in, unless you don't know the rules and you have to hire a lawyer and hope to heaven that the lawyer isn't afraid of the judge or that he's not dumb as a sack of rocks, because a lot of them are.
Yeah, well said. Well said. I got 2 last questions. The last question will be about frustrations, but something that I really commend you for is what I believe to be your long-term goals for this, like broader education for other people, children, I think most importantly. Can you expand upon it? Because I don't think we talked about that in the first interview. And I think this is really important because children are our future. Some woman, I know who she was. She said it though. She said it in a song as well. Miss Whitney. But yeah, children are our future. So can you expound upon this long-term goal?
Well, I believe that sooner or later, we're going to have a curriculum. If I can't do it, someone will do it. We'll finally devise a simple curriculum where we start in the first grade, and we teach first graders some of these fundamental things about what right and wrong is, what justice is, what's fair, and what's not fair. When I was a child, of course, I'm pretty old, but when I was a child, life was different than it is today. And we went to school, we learned a lot of good things. Today, I don't know what the children are learning. I think that it's time has come when we need to teach our children that, for example, the rules of evidence, there's something that would help people get along with their neighbor, get along with your spouse, get along with members of your family, just by understanding the rules of evidence. That, some things are true and everything else isn't. And say that again. Some things are true, everything else isn't. So evidence is a wonderful study. It's fun. It really is fun to study it when you realize that you can make the truth be evident. You can put it into the record. You can show what is and show what isn't, and win your case. Simple things that could be taught to 7th graders, 8th graders. And by the time kids graduate from high school, they ought to know how to take a deposition. They ought to understand that an interrogatory is simply a written question that the other guy has to answer under oath or go to jail. Chris, I don't think a lot of people realize that each and every one of you have the ability to put somebody in jail if they refuse to answer your questions or refuse to produce a document. You have that power. That's part of the joy of being an American. But right now, the only people that have that power are rich people who can hire, 2 or 3 lawyers who will lie and cheat and steal and twist the rules and lie to the judge. I've seen it over and over again, and it isn't right. So yeah, we want to get this someday into the starting in home schools and then in private schools. And I believe eventually we'll get it into public schools and everything will change. I think it'll really change everything.
I would love to see something like that. That's the reason why I wanted to bring it up. That there's something more, a bigger goal with this, and also something I didn't know before I was talking to you before we started recording is I found out that you and your wife have authored many books, and there's a lot of things that I'd like to bring you on for future conversations and talk about those things as well, because obviously you wear many hats. We're talking about the lawyer side right now, the attorney side,
Yeah.
But I definitely would like to dive into the spirituality aspect. I want to be respectful of your time and everybody else's time. And I do want to encourage people to make sure that if you're interested in the course, to be sure to use my referral link. Once again, it's in the video description and the pinned comment, so that you could support the channel in addition to getting the course. It would be greatly appreciated. Again, linked in the video description and the pinned comment for how to win in court. The last real question I wanted to ask you is, you were talking with me privately about some of the things that you were frustrated with in regards to this whole entire scene, community of law, legal, sovereignty, and such. You want to share some of your frustrations?
Briefly, I see society trying to tear itself apart over issues. And I was talking to some people just recently that over in England. I have some friends over there that are putting up a website, and we talk about principles. Their website's all about teaching people that there are principles, things about which we could be agreeing, things that might unify us and empower us by unifying us to do great things, working together in unity. But instead, so much of the conversation, as people call it now, the media people call it a conversation, so much of the conversation today has to do with issues. And the very definition, the very idea of an issue presupposes that there are different sides to the issue. And the frustration I find is that I just want to get people to get away from the idea that the primary thing to worry about is the issues, or trying to use politics to solve the issues, when there are these principles that could be guiding us to resolve the issues and to come together in unity. Because the principles will unite us and the issues will divide us, and until we're just completely at each other's throats. And that is not good for the nation. It's not good for the children. It's not good for the future. It's not good for any of us to just continually dwell on the issues. The issues are important. I understand that. People have different opinions. I understand that. But when we ignore the principles, we ignore the fact that some things are and everything else isn't, and we get down to the point of coming together and saying, wow, we live in America. This is a good place. Let's learn all we can about America, which is what happened to me 50 years ago when I started learning about America, but 10 years before law school. And come together, stand together, make America wise again.
Have you been saying "Make America Wise Again" for a while?
That just came out about a year ago. I thought, well, that's a good one. There's a good motto. Make America wise again. I believe America was at one time. I mean, we were wise the day I was born in 1943. We understood that we had to defeat Hitler. We had to defeat Emperor Hirohito. It was not a question. We were united. Americans were united. There were very few people that were anti-Americans, and those people were fools. But the ones we came together, we stood to preserve democracy, to preserve this way of life where we don't have autocrats running our life, telling us what to do, what color hat to wear on Tuesday. I mean, it's almost gotten that bad. And I know that everybody listening to me wants government to be controlled. Some people don't want government at all, but that's not a good idea. But if we're going to have government, which we have to have, it needs to be controlled. It needs to be controlled by rules, and those rules have to be guided by principles about which we all agree. And originally in, of course, 1776, those men at Philadelphia, they had a plan. It was a good plan. And they all came together agreeing about some things, like the value of the individual versus the value of the collective, or the value of what the king wanted. We didn't care about that. So I believe that we're entering into a new age where the principles are going to mount up in the minds and hearts of all Americans, and even in other nations. And that those principles are going to guide us to make the right kinds of decisions about these issues and the issues will dissolve, and we'll be able to see a brighter future for everyone.
I can 100% agree with that. And I think that we have a lot more in common than we realize. It's just we're kind of looking at the differences more than what we have in common first, when we should be looking at what we have in common versus the differences. And if we can just switch that up a little bit, I think we can get our priorities straight here in this country. So it's interesting times ahead of us, sir. I definitely, like I said, I would like to get you back on the regular, talk about this course, talk about everything that you're doing, and then bring you back on for some future conversations about some of the books and spirituality aspects that you also dive into, Dr. Graves. So thank you again for your time, sir. There will be links down below for everything that we talked about. Before we wrap things up, I do want to give you, sir, a final chance. If there's anything else you want to add or any final thoughts before we wrap up today's conversation.
I just want to thank you, Chris, and thank God that this view of making things better for people is put in your heart and mind, and that you have a willingness and a desire to tell people the things that will try to make the world better. We need more people like you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I appreciate you. Like I said, we just got to find those commonalities. It's not, I can say, especially if you watch the first conversation, it's not, there's some things that I don't agree with that Dr. Graves has said, and vice versa. So I'm still exploring the legal fiction routes, and I know he's over that. He's kind of said that piece. So I definitely encourage people to check out that first conversation. So if you can bear with me 1 second, sir, just going to do a quick wrap up. Ladies and gentlemen, again, links will be down below in the video description and the pinned comment for that referral link for the Jurisdictionary course, the How to Win in Court Without a Lawyer. It's a way to support the channel. If you guys get the course and you're interested in sharing it with your friends and family, you can get a referral as well, a referral link, and share it with them so you can help educate others. Again, I do appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to both of my channels, Rice Against the Grain and Rice Crypto, over on the YouTube side. As always, I encourage you to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch that you want to see in this matrix, and be the change you want to see in this world. Until next time.